duality here.
Yeah.
Give me a little space from you.
Okay, hold on. Delete this. Add item media slot. Like that. Oh, yeah, that works. Yes. Queen slay. Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Okay, so this is a response from I don't know how popular he is or whatever, but like a Zionist guy, American Zionist guy. I don't think
Yeah.
Is he Israeli? I mean, I don't know, whatever.
Aaron Cohen. Well, it says in his description
Who, yeah.
He's an Israeli special ops veteran. That's what he is.
Okay. That means he's Jewish.
Yes.
They're all special ops veterans, aren't they? Okay. So, but I would push that to the top. You wouldn't push it to the top?
Like that?
What's gained by not having it at the top?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I just more, I don't know.
This way a little too.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
A little more space is what I was saying. Anyways, whatever. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Okay, so this guy, I think it works better at the top.
Yeah.
Gives us a little more space here. Poke you in the eye. He is responding to Piers Morgan, who platformed Dan Bilzerian.
Yes.
Who gave a kind of, I would say, straightforward kind of argument that like the Jews do a lot of bad things in the world, including Gaza. But it wasn't just Gaza. It was like the Jews.
Yes.
Do a lot of bad things in the world. So he included like transgenderism. Now,
yes.
So I would say it was a kind of, it was, if you want to say anti-Semitic, in the sense, like, I think it really means anti-Jewish. It was just like an argument against Jewish people.
He said, so Dan Bilzerian said
based on not their ethnicity, but on their religion. He thinks Judaism is problematic because it has a ethnic supremacy element, and also the Talmud has these, as a kind of hatred of Christians, and that it's like, this is kind of like not as compatible with Christianity when you really look into it as you'd think, and it pushes all this kind of unhealthy stuff in society. Now, I don't think that what Dan Bilzerian said was really all that controversial. If you look a little bit into these things, you'll find this stuff everywhere. I think probably almost everyone in our chat, although someone did comment that when I said 2% of people have children here, someone was like, I think that's largely overestimated, wild overestimate. I do think probably being on the internet, I would say probably 99% of people in our chat are aware of almost all of these tropes about
Dan
Jews.
Bilzerian's talking points. The Talmud, the Disney execs are Jewish.
The memes.
All the executives
much of which
Jewish.
are just facts, but like this stuff has become on the internet, like, I don't know what it's become, but like people are aware of it. And probably most people that believe most of it has some truth to it. And they're right about that. Like, this stuff has not come out of nowhere, but it's mostly kind of like meme-y. Like, it's kind of, I think most people on the internet, after they've done this for a while, find it like kind of gay to be too like,
it's the Jews.
The Jews.
Yeah.
But also like when a Jewish person is like on our panel, we'll just like toss out all these tropes.
Yeah.
Okay. These memes. Dan Bilzerian, I don't think is like, he's like a kind of newbie to it, right? Where he's like, is all this stuff true?
Earlier.
And he's kind of like saying like, wow, I don't know, a lot of this is true. And Piers Morgan's response is, that's anti-Semitism. It's blatant anti-Semitism. It's atrocious, right? Which is that anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
This is what a Nazi would say. Right. And he's also not really altogether wrong, but just labeling something and saying you shouldn't say this is not an effective response to it.
No.
Once it's out there in the ether.
Right. Once you allow somebody to say it.
I don't really, if you can't control it and it gets out there, just saying like, shh, don't talk about that is counterproductive.
Yeah.
And I think we are culturally well past that point because of the internet. Now you can cry people who are philo-Semites like me can cry and say that I wish the internet didn't exist, but like I think you have to alter your strategy and say like those ways now of trying to just say like put that back in the right are just going to further the argument, right?
Yes.
And it's just going to make it go underground a little bit, so people are going to always be it's one of these things where like if everyone says a certain thing about blacks at the dinner table, but like not when they're right in front of them, like it's there.
Yes. So there's a problem. There's a binary here. On the one hand, you have what's called anti-Semitism, which is saying like, okay, if I do a little bit of research, like I find out that pornography is like pushed by Jews, and like a lot of these websites and these companies are owned by Jews, which is true. And
if
Disney
you say
pushing
to yourself,
race stuff is the Disney execs are Jewish.
If you say to yourself, like the normie thing is like Jews are no different than any other people, but they were oppressed for no reason by the Germans, right, in World War II. If you start saying like, well, wait a second, I'm going to start questioning these things, you will find out that Jews are in fact not very much like other people. Their history is different. Their demography is different. Their mentality is different. And you might exaggerate that at that point because that's a natural way in which you react to like, you might say like, okay, well, this has been kept from me, therefore it's true times two, right? Or like the most extreme things must be true. That's also not true, but it's a natural reaction, right?
Yeah.
So then you usually come back to a healthy place in between where you say these things are true, but maybe it's not that big of a deal. That's the place that I believe that I'm in. But and I believe that like this, what you're going to see right here is like standard issue Zionist response. And what I want to see in it is not so much whether it's true what he's saying. It's like, what is the ethos here? And how does it relate to the Chinaman yesterday?
Yes.
Who was making an argument like from volitionality, like it's just like you got to like action. Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy.
Right.
I think those are kissing cousins.
Okay.
And you'll find that it's a more complicated point, but that when you move from Catholicism to Protestantism, you're actually halfway to Judaism, and then secular Judaism, which becomes Marxism, right?
Okay.
So there's a continuity there.
Yeah.
Or ironically, Zionism. Okay, so
Marxism or Zionism. You're saying as
those
the end.
Those are two sides of a kind of those are two very Jewish movements.
Yes.
And even the National Socialist movement, if you can understand this, Grace, like it's one of those movements that because it was a counter to a Jewish movement was defined by, so like it's a Jewish movement in the sense that it's a reaction to Marxism.
Yes.
And Zionism, or like that kind of supremacy thing. But it's still defined by Jews being different or special. Do you see what I mean? So even though it was anti-Jewish, it was inordinately Jew-oriented.
I see. Yeah, I understand that because it wasn't. We were watching
like
a video and there was somebody...
like a girl. Like, this is Jesse. If a girl really hates her mother, a guy might be like, "That's great because her mother's fat and angry."
But her life is dictated by that hate.
Absolutely preparing herself to become her mother.
Yeah.
In this ironic way, you become what you hate. So it'd be far better for a girl to say like, I understand my mother, she's fat, but she's kind of but I understand why she got to where she is. That should make your dick way harder in terms of her not becoming a fat pig like her mother.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying. If you hate something, your entire personality is based on being the opposite of it, and you become what you hate.
Yeah. Jewish supremacy, and not like we find this like on the internet. It's like one of these ironies. Jewish supremacists and neo-Nazis who are obsessed with Judaism share more than they differ.
Yeah.
They both believe that Jews are like magical.
I do understand that point. Yeah, I do understand that.
So they have a lot in common. They're both like obsessed with Jews.
Yeah.
And so while they could seem like, again, this seems like a binary, it's actually they're both have the same starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mental furniture that you can exchange for something better.
Right.
When you say, you know what I'm saying? So like, if you think those are the only two choices, it's really just going to depend on whether you're Jewish or not, right?
Yes. Yes.
If you change that out for mental furniture that still says like, yeah, these facts are true, but Jews are not that, like, they're not supernatural beings. And, like, ultimately a lot of this stuff is self-destructive and stupid.
Uh-huh.
That's much better furniture, because you're not going to live in a kind of panic like this guy or Bilzerian, who's also panicked constantly because he's saying the Jews are going to ruin the world. This guy's saying like the Jews are going to be ruined by the world unless we are, which share this kind of volitionality.
Yeah.
And lack intellectual relaxedness that you would find in Catholicism.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that
point. Like a monk, if there's a monk, right, like in a monastery, this guy's going to say, like, you've got to get armed and help the IDF in every way possible and produce propaganda, right, from your monastery.
Is he going to say that?
Bilzerian guy is going to say, you should be producing propaganda, like going through all the anti-Jewish stuff throughout the ages to keep us from being destroyed by the Jews.
Yes.
The church says, just pray in your monastery. Don't worry about it. That's not for you to do. That might be for a different religious order to take up, but they're going to take it up. But like, you do what you do. You don't have to. It's not necessary for everyone to get all wound up about things. And it's kind of a temptation. It would be morally wrong for a monk to get really wound up about the politics in the Middle East.
Right.
Because it's only tangential to him.
But I don't really think either of these guys are talking to monks. Like, that's kind of an extreme example. Like, they're talking to your average person.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying is Catholicism would say, like, and that probably all of us could use a good amount of what the monk is doing. And a lot less activism. I mean, the people in Gaza, the people in Israel, that's on their plate every day.
Yeah.
The government of Israel, the people in Gaza, that's on their plate every day. The rest of us, we don't need to put it on our plate and get all wound up as if, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're tangential to it.
Right.
And we're okay with evil that occurs in the world. It's not our problem. We're not apologizing for God. He's got the Gazans. He's got the Israelis. People who have a genuine inclination, right, as intellectuals, scholars, whatever, yes, but even them, like, they should enjoy going home and not be sitting there winding up their kids like Jordan Peterson at the table, like, the Holocaust.
Now, here's an interesting point. Kyle says, we're not tangential to it. We directly fund it as
That's
Americans.
Secondary. It is secondary. It's different than if we were actually sending troops.
True.
But I agree. We're about as, like, we're close, right? But I mean, I don't think most Palestinians think that Americans are behind this. I think the theory, which is correct, is that the Zionists control America in spite of it not being in the interest of their people.
Yes.
So
yes.
It's less.
Amsterdam says there are U.S. special forces in Gaza right now.
Yeah, but I don't think they're. I don't think they're involved in military direct operations. I think they're advisory troops. But yes, I get it. Oh my.
All right, let's delve into.
I'm not unaware of these things. I'm not saying it's got nothing to do with us. But if we're in France, it would have less to do with us. I think that's true. And if we're in China, it would have less to do with us. I don't think the Chinese need to, like, get all wound up about it.
Yeah.
But I can see it being well, I'm fucking talking about it. I'm not. Anyways.
Right. Okay. Let's delve into what this. So this is an example of anti-Semitism from Aaron Cohen. Dangerous. Piers Morgan fueling Jew hate violence by platforming anti-Semites.
Yeah, so he's not attacking Bilzerian. He's attacking Piers Morgan for having Bilzerian on. Now, all of us know here, I think we're aware, Piers Morgan is vastly more sympathetic to the Zionist side.
Yes.
But the standard of how Zionistic you have to be to pass this guy's muster
Yes.
is, right? So he genuinely thinks that Piers Morgan is bad for Zionism, even though from the outside you'd say, like, this guy's almost as much as you can be, you know, whatever.
The obvious explicit bias, yes.
So, but, you know, the question is, like, who's right? Like, what's the reality? And I do think you can see from the type of presentation you get here that you're not dealing with someone who has a lot of respect for reason.
Okay. All right.
This episode of the Aaron Cohen Show is brought to you by the Cherries Deep Concealment Holster. Same holster I trained Keanu on for the John Wick franchise. This thing runs BWB or below the waistband. Never going to fall off because of where it rides. And
we'll skip ads.
No, that's actually part of it.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. I'll play it.
Never going to fall off because of where it rides. And lightning fast draw with just a little bit of training. Go to cherriescounterterror.com and carry with comfort and concealment.
Okay, this is part of the Zionist ethos is like, right, okay, so it's like don't be weak. Be strong.
Arm yourself.
Don't be ashamed, right? It's like a very right-wing Jewish kind of thing. It's like, we were weak. We got this where the pogroms took place. You've got to be ready with a gun. It looks like from where he pulled that gun out that if you like fucked up, you would blow your own dick off.
Yeah, blow your dick off. Yeah.
So interesting.
Then she discreetly told you.
More of a high side holster.
Yeah, the Johnson is.
So you could deal with it discreetly.
Today, I'm not here to talk about Israeli special operations. I'm here to talk about a different kind of war, the war on hate, and why Piers Morgan has become one of its most unaccountable soldiers.
You pause for a second.
Piers Morgan.
So now this guy, okay, you can see like his whole ethos is it's like Andrew's. So Andrew has, compared to this guy, like a laid back demeanor and self-effacing. This guy is. I mean, it's just like, you could say it's a personality type, but it just seems like a very, very like driven kind of thing. Like,
definitely, yeah.
You should agree with me from word one. And even you see the intellectuals, he calls him Piers Morgan.
Pierce.
Okay. His name is not Piers Morgan, it's Piers Morgan.
Yeah. Pierce.
But again, like the idea is like, who cares about that? We have to exert energy, right? Go ahead, because like there's a danger, a new threat to us.
Yes, right.
Morgan claims to be a journalist, a defender of truth, of free speech. He's a tabloid personality wrapped in a suit. Now, we've known that for quite some time. His show isn't about giving people a voice. It's about giving Jew haters a stage under the guise of controversy and free speech. Piers isn't interested in anything integrity. He's interested in clicks now that he's fully on YouTube and social media. And today I'm going to break down his platforming of anti-Semitic voices and ask, what does it say about him?
Okay. All right, go ahead. All right. So he has a kind of brief. So this is the thing about people who are anti-intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
They will engage because you can't not engage in reasoning when you're using words, right?
Right.
Either
you have to
just be shooting weapons, or you have to engage in something. Now the question is, like, when you're engaging in it, are you being open? Are you seeking the truth, or are you not concerned, like you've already determined what the truth is here, and you're just saying everything you can so that your side wins.
So like straight up confirmation bias,
like propaganda.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it becomes problematic when he's sort of analyzing Piers Morgan, because he's saying like, okay, let me open your eyes to who Piers Morgan really is.
Yeah.
Okay. They say this guy will say like, he hides behind the idea of free speech and letting both sides have a voice. But what he really, and having integrity, but what he really is a
anti-Semite.
No, what he really is a grifter, and he wants clicks.
Oh,
okay. And what you're doing there is you're saying these two things are, you see, we've encountered this all the time on the internet, right?
Yes.
The idea you've created a binary. You want to be popular, therefore you are not a person of integrity.
Yes.
Those are not, reason does not tell us that those are opposites.
Yes.
Because then the Beatles were grifters. The Rolling Stones were grifters. Bob Dylan was a grifter. Abraham Lincoln was a grifter, right? Like anyone who, so this idea of saying, I've proven that you lack integrity because you seek success.
Yeah,
it falls flat.
That's not really a good argument.
It can happen, but of course, what you're going to say in the current media environment, if you're a grifter, what is the number? And you're just want to say, and you don't have integrity. What is your number one anywhere in the world? What is your number one operative thing?
Always pro-Jew all the time.
Do not question Zionism.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea that like, oh yeah, it's real easy to make a lot of money in media by giving voice to Palestinians, like that's the easy way to make it in life.
Right.
But like a lot of us have integrity and therefore take the hard road of being Zionist shills.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. That is a ridiculous point. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now,
that is ridiculous.
He does make a point, like there is a subtlety to this point that I would agree with, that if you have resigned yourself to not be a mainstream figure anyways, and you want to be a super edgelord, okay, and get that edgelord status, which is always going to be a fringe status.
Yeah.
But you can get a certain amount of attention. Then yeah, being like super anti-Semitic could be a strategy.
The views,
yeah. If you're a mainstream figure like Piers Morgan. Who clearly is a BBC, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
clear, and he really wants that back, like Cuomo, like, right? Okay,
yeah.
He's not going to take. This is not a guy who's going to take the like edgelord, like kind of cope thing. I think he would just rather retire than be this like super crazy edgelord.
Yeah.
What he's trying to do though, is he's trying to like, I think genuinely say there's a space here in which there can be success. It's between the mainstream media and the alternative media. He's saying that's an interesting space because I can have guests that mainstream media would say like, cut,
right,
not having them on. But also I can have a kind of mainstream viewership. I can get some respect from these people. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm in between.
Yeah,
I'm like dad.
Mix.
I'm like dad because I'm saying like, well, look, there's all these people saying crazy shit. I'm going to navigate between that and like what the institutions say.
Yeah.
Wildly on the side of this, but it's going to piss. These people are going to be like pro me because they're going to say, well, at least they let him on. Right. And he's not wrong.
Yeah.
He does have some really interesting interviews that you would never see a mainstream outlet do. And I think
So he gets
he's
clout from
smart.
both.
He is a journalist.
He
He's
gets
smart.
clout from both sides because the mainstream media says like, okay, you
And he gets shit on from both
withheld.
sides. He gets shit on from both sides too.
Yes.
But he has a space that's like not many other people can do, right? So he first had to get shit on by the BBC
Yeah.
for his Meghan Markle stuff because they were like, that smells like
racism.
And he also was like anti the transgender thing, right?
Yeah.
In which he like was saying what most people were thinking, but like which the mainstream media wasn't ready to do that. So he got kicked out of
he got
that,
canceled.
like Cuomo,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he's like, actually, I can take a lot of mainstream people with me without going like, now I'm going to be the truth teller, right? Like he's saying like, no, I'm still like bought and paid for,
of course,
openly, but I can kind of outplay them at their own game.
It is smart. He gets millions of views.
Like Tucker Carlson did the same thing, right? So he said like, I'm going independent, but I'm taking my audience with me. I'm beating Fox now, right? So smart move. I think to call him a coward or whatever, I mean, he's going to get shit on from both sides because he doesn't have the integrity of people who are like, I don't care where this leads me, because he does care.
Right. He does hold the Zionist line.
But he also gets shit on by these people because it's like, well, I mean, you're not supposed to do this, right? And this guy represents that kind of view. But what I'm saying is his analysis of Piers Morgan has nothing rational to it.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. How many times have we heard like, you're a grifter? And I'm like, I want to succeed on YouTube. I want clicks and I want money. I have no problem saying that. That has nothing to do intrinsically with whether I believe in what I'm saying. It's crazy, right? It's like saying, we as a team want to win the World Series. Oh, you're just a bunch of grifters. You just want the rings and the prestige. Yeah.
It also doesn't make any sense because if Piers Morgan wanted to be a straight up grifter, he wouldn't be putting anti-Jewish, anti-Zionist people on his show. That's not a great way to get a grift.
Well, it's a risky gambit, but it's also a very conservative gambit. I just think it's like, I don't really think Piers Morgan can portray himself as like this person who's like really gone out there like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know what his motivations are, but I could see him being like a little bit like, I do think we need to like move beyond this censorious stuff and say like some of this stuff is true. And he has been willing to say like the stuff in Gaza is crazy. He has been willing to say that. He isn't just absolutely towed the line.
Yeah. Amsterdam says Americans don't realize that Piers Morgan is disgraced in the UK. He brought down the News of the World newspaper for hacking celebrity phones. A 150-year-old newspaper destroyed by Piers Morgan, so he was shipped off to America.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
Don't know anything about that.
Don't know anything about it, yeah.
So, but what I'm saying is this guy will just very briefly attempt a psychological analysis of where Piers Morgan is coming from. But it's incoherent. And he doesn't care. It's just the briefest little kind of like why it's okay to hate this guy. Because I do think he's generally seen as neutral, and a lot of people would commonsensically see like his list of if you look up Piers Morgan and censored, you get the craziest Zionist loons on there. Douglas Murray, son of Hamas, Shmuley Dershowitz, like it's the vast majority, but the ones that get a lot of hits are the ones where you have voices that are not found in the mainstream media, right?
Yeah.
Which he can
like Bassem Youssef or
right.
whatever.
So if you look at it, like if you were to look at it in terms of views, it would look like, oh, this is a channel that's more pro-Palestinian or like significantly pro-Palestinian. If you look at it in terms of the actual videos, it looks like, no, it's a propaganda channel with just slight little, right?
Yes.
So it depends on how you look at it, but like he's able to hide behind that to say like, well, look, I got all the propagandists on here, and I also sit there and go like, wrong. But the fact of the matter is he lets them speak.
Wait, hang on a second, though. I have another.
Why shouldn't they speak?
Well, I have another
speak?
thing, though. Isn't the problem with Aaron Cohen's criticism is that, like, he's saying, like, oh, you have anti-Semites on because they get you a lot of clicks and they're it's popular. It's interesting to people. Isn't the problem really that anti-Semitism gets clicks? Isn't that the main problem behind this? Not so much Piers Morgan.
Okay, so now you get into an anthropology that's understood but is highly questionable. And this is what it is. Common people will end up in homicidal, genocidal insanity if we, meaning those who are educated and better than them, don't control their thoughts somehow. Now, that's an anthropology, right? You find it in Jordan Peterson because he'll talk about like, and then the Germans, right? And he gets all crazy. There was a thing. See if you can find the Jordan Peterson spiel where remember the one where he's like he's talking about like what it is to be a human being. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's in a lecture hall and it's like a diatribe about
human nature
in the light of the 20th century.
The good and evil in humans. This one,
maybe.
Life.
Yeah, that's it. That's
this
it.
One?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Should you want to take okay, let's take a little.
I think this is
break.
the one. It's like,
I forgot,
think.
Sorry.
And I think. Did you say take a break?
I said take a brief break, like I'm in this video.
It's not a.
Go ahead. I wasn't gonna. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Accident that the axiomatic Western individual is someone who was unfairly nailed to a cross and tortured. It's like, yes, right, exactly. So what do you do about that? Well, I thought about that for a long time too. Well, you don't get together in a damn mob because all that does is allow you to be as horrible as you could possibly imagine and suffer from none of the consequences.
Go off,
That's
King.
a bad idea. So how about we don't do that? Well, there's a deep idea in the West too. It's like, pick up your damn suffering and bear it and try to be a good person so you don't make it worse. Well, that's a truth. You know, I read a lot about the terrible things that people have done to each other. You just cannot even imagine it. It's so awful. So you don't want to be someone like that.
He's losing it.
Do you have a reason to be?
I really think. Okay, have you seen his wife?
Yeah.
Okay, I think he's reading these books, right? Like, and then he's having experiences with his wife in the bedroom, and I think it all becomes lost, like what's going on here. If this guy had like a beautiful wife, I'm not saying his wife's a bad person, but she's a troll. I recognize the Eastern European what's going on here, right? And like, I just think this, I've known people like this, like the guy we met the other day who I'd known for a long time, Andy.
Yeah.
He has this also dark view of human nature. And then, but you look, the wife is like similar, like sort of totalitarian. And I think that if you have
Olga,
a kind of totalitarian regime going on, and then you're reading Solzhenitsyn, and then there's more of the totalitarian regime, like you're not going to come out of that like super healthy.
Yeah.
And I think what he's really doing here is saying, like, can I ever just get a blowjob without, you know what I mean? Like, that's.
So you think it comes down to like the relationships in his life?
I really do think like he probably came out of a household that was sort of terrifying. It's very Western. It's very, I don't know. It's like it's like a Western European thing. But like, I just don't think he had like enough time on his mom's tit. And he's just all wound up.
It's his wife, Yeti. That's his wife. Yeah, he's extremely wound up.
Because you can read, like, what I'm saying is like, people say, like, he's educated. I'm not saying he's not educated, but he's not an historian, actually. The idea that he's studied history. Okay, he said he spent a lot of time, right? He studied psychology. Psychology is a pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he takes that pseudoscience and applies it to history and says, like, I get human nature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm not saying he wasn't sincere. I'm just saying, did you ever consider like studying history more broadly before like fetishizing like totalitarian regimes in the 20th century? Because like there's more to history than that, right?
Yeah.
If you say like my delving into history starts with the Gulag, right? And it's like, because I want to learn about human nature. Okay, well, that's a certain thing that's like humanity at its worst. And for you to extrapolate and go, well, because it's so bad, that must be what it basically is. And we're all right on the precipice of creating a Gulag. Well, that's not really true.
Oh my God, laughing Cedar. He wrote in detailed description about a dream of his grandma's vagina swallowing him or something along those lines. Yeah, it makes sense.
It's like we have to say at a certain point, Jordan Peters is like, he's both a gem and a cautionary tale, right? Because yes, evolutionary psychology can get you very close to something like Catholicism, but it's not the real thing. And it's going to break down if you don't take the leap, which I of course, the big joke is like, his wife was just like, because he's like, I'm not ready to say I believe in God because that involves so much.
Yeah.
And his wife was just like, I just became Catholic, by the way.
She just became a Catholic. Yeah, she didn't give a fuck.
Fuck you, dude. Yeah, dude. Okay, but I'm just gonna like go over to this priest and do a bit, and now I'm Catholic. I'm going to heaven, and you're like, oh no,
no, and it's like she's cocking him so hard. It's so funny. I forget. It's like it's this video.
I think she's just like, Jesus, dude. Just
So she started praying the rosary, and he's like, I don't understand it. But she got sick or something. But there's this video of them in the church, and she's praying, and he's sitting next to her,
tweaking.
I forget.
I respect you.
Yeah,
oh.
That's him in the background. Hold on, let me see.
What the right outcome is, and maybe it's that you live, and maybe it isn't. What you can
in the cock pew. I mean, obviously, like she's on her knees for God, in a sense. You know what I mean? Praying the rosary, and he's just sitting there like,
right. And she's saying like this, like this, in a sense, like I don't mean to be sacrilegious, but like this dick is not that hard to work. Like,
yeah, right.
Right. You just
open
up and receive it. You don't have to sit there for 5 zillion hours going like, epistemological. It's like, but that's a problem with evolutionary psychology, because you say like all these things that religious people say are true on non-religious grounds. Okay, but then that's different than believing them to be true. Yeah. You're saying like, well, they would be true, or they're like in practice true. They work, but I can't comment on whether they might be true. I don't even admit the possibility they might be true, because I'm saying I'm investigating whether they work like in making people happier. And the answer is yes. And then it's like, okay, so, but they don't work when you don't believe in them. Yeah. So you can't be like, it wasn't it Lav who said like, I'm effectively a Christian, but I don't believe in any of it. But I believe in all the morals of it. And it's like, okay, well, that's not going to last very long. Sure enough, a week later,
Yeah, sure enough, she's back on OnlyFans, and she just got married to her husband, who cheated on her with another woman with her consent the next month after they got married.
But also had a breakdown because he did that.
Yeah, great job, guys. Okay, so how did we get here? Okay, so we were watching the Aaron Cohen video, and I was saying,
no, I want to go back to the thing. I want to go back to the speech.
This one? Okay, life is
I find it because I watched this and I was like, what?
Okay.
It corresponds to so much Northern European angst.
Yeah.
It's like terrifying, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, like why young men subject themselves to this stuff. This guy is like fucking crazy.
Mm.
But he's good at it. He's good at saying, like, it seems really sincere. But I was saying, like, I think this guy just has not had very much experience outside of his head of just like, you know, getting laid, having kids in the normal way, and like, just, I don't know, just like chilling out.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just kind of like worst case scenario about humanity. It's like he's just, and then he discovered this stuff. But he what I'm saying is, he wanted to find it all along. He's just like this guy who just wants to be this Chicken Little, like the earth is falling. Right?
Yeah.
Which is compelling. It makes for good rhetoric, but it's like, dude, why would anyone want to follow you? Like, it's a lot of bad news.
A lot of people feel like negativity is the answer. Like,
yeah,
life is so negative. Yeah, I believe he's telling the
compelling.
real shit.
It's a dark view. Yeah.
You have a lot.
Country sucks. But how is this helping?
Well, because they're saying it's real. It's not that Christian,
but he's
facade.
And here's the irony of it. So that got him, the 20th century got him to like be super like saying this anthropology this other guy has. This is the connection where you say like humanity is just like one tweak away from Holocaust, right?
Yeah. This is what this comment is saying. He realized it's a lot easier to push people there than he thought.
Yeah, okay, but it's not actually. A lot of the stuff he says that makes it seem like that is not true, including his rendering of what happened in Germany. And I'm not even being like a revisionist. It's like he just flatly like doesn't know the history very well.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't understand the tensions that were building for centuries.
No, and also his like idea of what happened in Germany. It mostly happened in Poland, not in Germany.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. The overwhelming number of Germans were not behind it. It was a minority movement that was extraordinarily violent and didn't play by the rules to get to power. Most Germans, it wasn't like, because he watches the propaganda and everyone's like, Sieg Heil, right? And he's not like most of those people. That's like saying North Koreans are all into Kim Il-jung. I don't think that's true.
Right. I see. Yeah, but they have to.
There were massive numbers of people in Germany who were like, his problem is like, unless you were basically a martyr against Nazism, you were part of it. That's not true.
Yeah,
there were a lot of people who thought it was stupid, but what are you going to do, right? It's just like today, like. Am I an enthusiastic supporter of what's going on in Israel? No. Did I do anything decisive in the last election? No. Am I withholding my taxes? No. Do you know what I mean? I think it sucks.
Yeah.
Most people think it sucks. But the irony is, so he studied that, which gave him entree to be kind of Benny Shapiro's little butt boy, because it's like, we've got to protect the Jews. And in doing so, he's now an apologist for the very type of behavior that is ironic. Studied.
That is very ironic.
And he's making that.
He's bought
money.
Off. Yeah.
But, I think you quickly go from this kind of despair to, well, let's just make some money because fuck it. Right? Because why bother if humanity's that bad?
Right.
Reasons to be God, there's reasons to be resentful about your existence. Everyone you know is going to die, you too, and there's going to be a fair bit of pain along the way, and lots of it's going to be unfair. It's like, no wonder you're resentful. It's like, act it out and see what happens. You make everything you're complaining about infinitely worse. There's this idea that hell is a bottomless pit, and that's because no matter how bad it is, some stupid son of a bitch like you could figure out a way to make it a lot worse. So you think, well, what do you do about that? Well, you accept it.
You should translate this into like athletic talk and have this be like a pitch that you give to like your team at halftime. Let's all kill themselves.
Yeah.
It's like,
listen,
your company, is not doing well, your restaurant's not doing well, you're like, okay, let's gather together and like you just do this kind of thing on a restaurant level. It's like, what is the point? Aren't you exactly epitomizing what it is you're talking about?
He is, yeah. Just kvetching,
It's like
crying out in misery.
right on the edge of despair.
Yeah.
Why would anyone, if they really believe this, hang in? It's
a good question.
bad.
I don't know.
Like, where is the whole? But like, hey, buddy, does he have one kid? Only one kid?
One kid, yeah.
No, just one.
I'm pretty sure it's just Michaela.
I mean, did you find raising your baby to be like this?
It's all paid.
I think he did.
You always
the wife
make it
is trolling him
worse.
the whole time. She's like, yeah, definitely, dude. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just something. It's something both hilarious and like also. I just really think he represents, in a sense, a superficial challenge to like the whole Western thing. It's like ultra Protestantism, ultra apocalypticism. I know that in the end he's not apocalyptic, but I don't know why he wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think he's just learned to like pitch it because it's good content, but I don't see how there's any integrity here, because why wouldn't you just in the middle of this just take out a gun and go, see ya? Right? It's like
Yeah.
ultimate Kino. It's like Hormax or jerking his way off the internet. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But you're going to alert us all to like the unbelievable, like whatever of existence. Like, I actually don't think that's helpful. It just exacerbates the problem. You've got guys jerking off and watching videos. Now they're like, I better clean up my room or I'm going to become the Hitler that it's like, this is the last thing that guy needs.
Yeah, getting all wound up and moralistic.
Just why not? Like, why not just have someone say like, oh, this is what I want to do, is be this person. So like, yes, all that stuff is like, all these terrible things happen, but it's like an exception.
Yeah.
Most of human history, most human life is good. Like, God allows us immense grace. Like, we still have a beautiful day out. It rains. Like, no matter how stupid we are, his grace, even on a natural level, continues to provide people. Even the worst mafia guys got like a nice family and pizza. Yeah. Even in Gaza, the sun shines down. They have some form of falafel. And
yeah,
like the trucks are getting in, and yeah, I mean, it's bad, but like, it's not the end. They'll be able to like fit like those places. You just see it. I don't know how any Israeli can possibly be like, this is good what we're doing here, but it's like, it just looks like a hellscape, right? But like,
yeah,
grass will grow there again, trees will blossom, kids will play. Right? It's amazing how much life has a resiliency.
Yeah.
And how people are willing to forgive, even on a natural level. They're willing to forgive and move on, even though it seems like, how can they ever forgive, right? Even death and things like that, it's woven into something. It's like the very opposite of this. Mm-hmm. But when you get into this kind of thinking, it also, it stimulates, it doesn't stimulate calmness.
No,
reason.
It doesn't.
It stimulates panic and like this kind of vigilance that you find in that guy. Cause he's saying like, if I don't have this inner mentality of this like wound up Jordan Peterson voice, if I flinch, if I let it go for just a second, I may end up in an abyss of selfishness, fatness, and right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll let myself go and there will be another
Hitler. You can't
Hitler.
compromise for a minute. You've got to be ever vigilant against yourself. Which
is also goes back to the Asian guy.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like I think he's like, I'm one missed run away from like
losing it.
Massive gay orgy, which is probably true for him.
Yeah.
But for most people, that's not how it goes. But for him, I think it would be that. And so then he'd have a confirmation, and then then they'd have the gay orgy for a couple of years, and then be like, okay, I need to go back to the running.
Crazy.
And I just think there's something else at work. So back to the.
Back to Cohen. All right.
Just let it play a little more.
Okay, sure.
I just find this guy so fucking
What are the
hilarious.
comments like on here? If someone notices this, I'm still alive and fighting depression thanks to this video. Sitting around feeling sorry for yourself gets you nowhere. Be strong. If you can die with the feeling that you endured and didn't give up on this unfair life, then you are a success, my friend. Be proud. 3 years ago, I'm stunned when I go outside and it isn't a riot.
Look at this one. My son, age 23, took his life 2 weeks ago. Strangely, I'd felt compelled to watch this video over and over in the weeks leading up to it. I appreciate this perspective so much. It has really helped me carry this cross and not be crushed under its weight. Maybe that was part of the problem. You're just watching this like endlessly while your son's like, hey, I'm having some trouble.
Dad.
You want to go out and to a restaurant?
Hold on, I need to listen to Jordan Peterson again.
It's brutal. Maybe we could, toss the pigskin around a little bit outside.
Dad, do you want to talk? What's the point? You're just going to be complaining more about the problems you already have.
There's some shithead even worse than you.
What life is like. It's suffering. That's what the religious people have always said. Life is suffering.
That's not true.
Yes. Well, who wants to admit that? Well, just think about it. Well, so what do you do in the face of that suffering?
Religious people say life is a gift.
Yeah, well, the Buddhists say it's suffering.
The Buddhists, yeah, okay. But like,
Buddha.
he's talking about Christianity. Buddha.
No. See, this is the thing. Like, so he doesn't understand that he's part of this like volitionalism, right? Because you can preach with animation, but there's a playfulness underneath it. This guy portrays life as this like brutal, strenuous, like, it's really a hatred. He's preaching a hatred of God.
Yeah.
Because creation is awful. And this comes out of evolution. That's why he's an evolutionary biologist, right? He says that creativity comes from death
goes back
and
to
conflict.
Evolution, yeah.
Whereas a Christian, I don't know how to say this. Like, I think here's another reason I'm your golden goose, bitch. Is that yeah, he was seriously into crazy drugs. It's a self-created Holocaust, right? Like he's like lived his own personal Holocaust. I'm pretty sure that like if he ditched a bitch and got some pussy and like just relaxed a little bit,
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, and enjoyed
I think it's kind of
having
funny.
some money.
I'm pro Tammy Peterson.
I am too. I admire her, but like,
I admire her for just trolling the shit out of this guy.
She has the gleeful look of someone who knows this guy is like fucking dead in a matter of weeks and just enjoying the ride. He's not going to give me dick. He's going to be talking while like I'm supposed to be getting dick. This is what he gets.
Yeah. Did you ever watch?
I married.
Remember the video between them is so funny. The interview, if we ever wanted to go over that, like where Michaela interviews both of them, and he's like, sometimes we would have arguments, and she'd just go to sleep, and I couldn't understand how you could go to sleep when we're having a contention, and she just sits there and smiles.
Yeah, it's like a death match, and he's far outgunned.
Oh,
he's got.
yeah.
I mean, look at him. Look at her compared to him. Who are you going to put your money on? He's fucking toast.
She's hardcore. She's just warming up.
Don't they have this thing where they analyze stuff like this? She's clearly the aggressor. He's like,
yeah, the green line test.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and she's just like,
It does remind me of you and Mom, Loki.
It's a very different dynamic, though.
Yeah, she's much more confident. She is just like. I mean, when you watch the interview, it's gold. You guys know what I'm talking
when you
about?
put the daughter in, it's hilarious. And it does resemble our thing in some ways.
His talks with his daughter are so funny because she's had all this plastic surgery.
When she's
sitting there looking at you like,
When
Hey,
she
Dad.
when she talks about like, but can be very funny when she talks about like how at Thanksgiving it was like just Dad doing one of these things. Like you've got to sympathize with her, no matter how much of a hoe she's turned out. It's like, yeah, what the fuck? What kind of a father is that? This guy who just lives in his head all the time,
Yeah.
never stops.
Yeah. This is an interesting image. Not sure what that's supposed to represent.
That's her
Listen.
with her natural hair.
Yeah, looks a lot better.
She had that.
I think she took some of the lip fillers out.
Anyways,
Anyways.
guys, you're getting dissipated. Don't do that.
So, do you want to finish watching this one?